What is up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I'm back with another video. This is a quick, it's the quick review format, but I wanted to just sit down and chat with y'all, you know, some real talk type shit. So, G.I. Joe 50th anniversary stuff. This is the newest stuff, so it's not quite 50th anniversary. It doesn't say so on the package. You can tell that there's different things going on with my figures here. I'm just going to talk about a bunch of them. I bought 2 packs. I couldn't find much more than these 2 packs. The 3 packs were all gone. Scalpers got to them before me. And to be honest with you, there's nothing really special about them enough for me to review each pack individually. So I'm going to just talk about them, you know, all together randomly. So as you can see, I put the Resolute Roadblock, I put his head on this body. Now, that was my main reason for picking this guy up, is that I always felt like the rock block was not good. And I always felt like, you know, Resolute Roadblock was my favorite Roadblock because he just had the proper size and everything. And, you know, he's kind of like a good basic Roadblock, like old school, you know, analog to your, you know, standard Real American Hero Roadblock. But I felt like this is a POC design right here. This is pure Pursuit of Cobra shit going on right here. So I amped him up a little bit to make him more in line with my other Joes. Pretty much what I did was, the figure comes with this heavy duty head. He's also looking up, you know. I'll zoom in on it. But he comes looking up. I just don't need another heavy duty. Honestly, the Rise of Cobra heavy duty is by and large the best heavy duty that I've ever had. He's the coolest looking one. I think it's the best. It's what heavy duty should look like. End of story. You know what I mean? We don't even need to talk about it anymore. So when I saw that this was going to be the rock block body, but with a skin tone as dark as, which I knew when I saw it that it was going to match this body, you know, and this head, I was like, I'm switching it. I was already working on a custom with the original Battle Kata Roadblock, where I was going to paint his neck and his arms, just like the upper arm, and take the lower arms from here and put him on that body. But this works even better. He's more vascular. It's equally as large as this figure anyway, you know. And switched up the vest. So this is the rock block original vest with all the Battle Kata stuff on it, which I like because Roadblock is supposed to be dope with all kinds of weapons. So I just kind of took, I imagine that this Roadblock is battle hardened. He's been around for so long that, you know, we knew he was proficient in heavy machine guns and heavy weapons in general, but he also became extra proficient in extra proficient in hand-to-hand combat, training with other Joes and such. So, you know, he doesn't have an Arashikage tattoo on him, which makes it awesome. So this whole Battle Kata system works for him. As far as paint and stuff, the paint is fairly sloppy. You know how it is. You could tell that this was cast in a brownish color, and they didn't paint over it enough. You know, they needed 1 or 2 more coats. This weird red tattoo shit on his arm, really? We don't need that stuff. And this sloppy ass star sitting right there underneath his shoulder joint, it's just stupid. The lower half looks pretty good. He comes with a decent pistol. He doesn't have the big chunky things to hold the Battle Kata, you know, pistol pieces. Yeah, overall that's dope. He came with this vest on though, which is a black version of the vest that Resolute Roadblock had. I'll just hold them side by side so you can see them. And then, you know, Night Adder has a gray version of that vest. And then he came with pretty much the weapons that a variety of Roadblocks came with. Came with the big ass hog. He came with this smaller saw-ish deal that came with a few Pursuit of Cobra or Rise of Cobra figures. Then he came with a non-articulated version of the gun that Roadblock, Resolute Roadblock came with. I like this though, that it's in black. It has the ammo belt, so you can wrap the belts if you want to. Put a portion of it in there, and then wrap the rest around his hand, you know. So there you go. It's not bad. Very simple, you know. And then you have the stand for your hog. It's exactly the same as Ultimate Roadblock and Battle Kata Roadblock, which is not that impressive when you think about it. So that's that, and that's nice. You can never really go wrong with that simple piece. And then you have, of course, this is the proper head. It's not a bad head sculpt. I may sometimes swap this out on my my other heavy duty, the Rise of Cobra one that's in his kind of not in the armor. He's dressed down. But yeah, so Roadblock is pretty dope. Of course, you see mine has his AA-12 because this here, I imagine Terry Crews playing Roadblock. I mean, it's just, it fits. Look at him. You know what I'm saying? That's Terry Crews. Remembered this shit at Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, it's that simple. But apparently Hasbro didn't think so. They want to give The Rock another vehicle, you know, no pun intended, for him to, you know, steal the show or be the focus, and I'm just not feeling it. I guess his star is bigger, in their opinion. Terry Crews just fits better. Sometimes you should cast according to the character and not according to the brand that you're trying to build. But, you know, that's just me, you know? So anyway, Roadblock. Now, Stiletto. As you can see, my Stiletto has a different face because it's not Stiletto. This is Lady Bly. Yes, she's named after the drink. I used a different head for her because I have a character whom shows up in this gear in Fenner's company, and I didn't really have like a specific fancy battle uniform for her, and I figured this is perfect. But I have to really, man, we're gonna take a look at this character because I was disappointed. I was so fucking disappointed. All right, look at this shit, man. She's one of the ugliest figures I've ever seen. Face is all sucked in. I just don't understand what it was they were trying to do with her. You know? Like, what exactly, she doesn't look anything like her file card. Meanwhile, the head that I gave her, it's Sif from Thor. I think that's from Thor 2, maybe? The Thor 2 figures? I don't remember. I wasn't big into the figures for who they are, even though I like Thor. And I love the whole Norse, you know, the super heroic version of Norse mythology. I didn't get it for that. I just got them, a lot of them, so I could have extra heads for customs. But let's see if I can get closer. The only gripe I have is that the head, and I'll take some pictures so that you guys can see that. Anyway, it's just so drastic how bad this fucking sculpt is compared to this, you know what I mean? And this was like a fan's choice. I think that was a Justin Bell creation from one of the novels, or you know, fan stories, that fan, you know, universe of G.I. Joe that's been, you know, somehow created and that Hasbro is cool with. And I'm all for fans getting involved in the thing that they're a fan of, but, you know, sometimes I wonder about that kind of stuff. It's like Hasbro is openly lazy and they're letting the fans do the heavy lifting for them. But then they do this 1 in a million bullshit where they you know, reward one really vocal fan, you know, one really active fan, and don't reward people who have good ideas, like real good ideas, you know. But that's a discussion for a whole nother day. The bottom line is with this, I don't think anything about this design is so original. I don't like the fact that they have people thinking in line with, these parts already exist, so let's just swap out a couple things. I mean, this is essentially all Helix. Wow. It's all Agent Helix, except for the arms. And then, of course, a different head. To me, that's just kind of boring. You know, it's like, why reuse parts if you don't have to? Why reuse such obvious parts? You know what I mean? Why not just go the extra mile and sculpt some new shit, design some shit? I mean, that's what happens when the people who decided what the character was going to look like are not designers. And then you have this mix and match kind of fetish when it comes to creating G.I. Joes, because you've been told for a very long time that, you know, it's too expensive to create new stuff, you know? And to me, that's bullshit. So, I don't know. I was not impressed. She comes with the machine gun you see, or assault rifle you see with her in her hands right now. This came with Cobra Commander in Retaliation. The first Cobra Commander, I think the one that came in black and came in blue. She comes with the Cobra Trooper sniper rifle. She comes with the Retaliation Joe Trooper small pistol. Hopefully you can see that properly. And she comes with 2 Retaliation Trooper knives. Snake Eyes also had these, the movie accurate Snake Eyes. And she comes with these blades that came with the Retaliation Storm Shadow also. And these actually have painted handles, which is kind of like, wow, someone gave a shit, you know? But I'm going to put these on a ninja. I'm not going to give these to her because they just, all these parts together don't make sense to me. She's a knife person, a long-range person with her sniper rifle, and then she has swords as well. Like, why? That's overkill. That's like a loadout you would see in Saints Row or some shit, you know what I mean? Or in Grand Theft Auto or something. It just doesn't seem very, you know, I don't know. To me, it seems kind of illogical. It seems like overkill with things that, you know, a lot of people with limited imagination find cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, swords are awesome. Kind of like how Deadpool just has all the cool shit on him. He's got a teleporter, he's got machine guns, he's got a big gun on his back, he's got 2 katanas. Like, get the fuck out of here. It's too much, you know? So anyway, not really impressed with Stiletto, but her parts will work for my Lady Bly. And then I got the pack of Zombie Vipers. I might get another pack. Now, these are exactly the same as the Pursuit of Cobra version. The only difference can be found on their knees. The Pursuit of Cobra version has clean knees like that. I mean, they're scuffed up, but they're clean, whereas the new 50th version has like a rip in it, so you can see the skin underneath. They kind of painted it over, it looks like. They painted the same kind of flesh tone over the knee so that you can tell that it's like a hole or something. And besides that, they're pretty much the same. The only other issue I found that I don't like, oh, and the paint is sloppy, you know, like the Cobra sigil is off to the side, like falling off of their shirt. I don't know if you can see that. Whereas on the Pursuit of Cobra version, it's directly on the patch. It's even angled so that if their arm was straight, it would be straight on that slanted pouch. I'm trying to get up close and give you a look at that. Besides that, you're not really getting anything different, and that's why I got them. So now I have 4 of them. I want to have 6 and then call it a day. But that's really it. You know what I mean? I'm one of those people who I like to have my legions, my little Cobra legions, you know. Makes me happy sometimes because I have more Cobra Vipers and Cobra soldiers and such than I have Joes, which is perfect because I want Joes and Fenris Company to have something to fight. You know, even the Corps, I want them to have more shit to fight. I don't want it to be all about, you know, the heroes with nothing fight. And I see a lot of collections that are lopsided like that. And back in the day when I used to collect, that was kind of how I did it. So, yeah, these guys are still cool. They're still one of the best things that came out of Pursuit of Cobra. And, you know, that's a lot, saying a lot, considering that, like, almost everything out of Pursuit of Cobra was awesome, you know? There were a handful of fails, or a handful of just like meh figures, crazy legs, and a couple of snake eyes, but you know. So I'm happy to have these guys. They are more impressive to me than, you know, the Rock Block and Heavy Duty and Stiletto. I was let down with the two of them. I'm glad I was able to find a way to have fun with them by customizing. And then let me get this out the way. So right after I got what's his name, Outback, not Outback, oh geez, Snow Job, I picked him up. I got him for a really good price. I got him single though, like, you know, by himself. He was still in package, but they sliced the package in half and just sold him by himself. And I have to say, this is not the greatest figure, you know, considering the price, considering the way that the scalpers had him constantly up there and so hard to find, and people kept saying he was rare and blah, blah, blah. This is the 50th anniversary version. Yes, I found my pointer. The paint on him is actually fairly decent. You know, they didn't do a bad job with all his little details and such. And I love the fact that it's exactly the fucking 25th anniversary one, down to the freaking feet with those snow boots on, you know? Which is like, dude, he's a mountain climber. Why is he wearing these boots? But I guess you could say that they are somewhat all-purpose. But I would have preferred him having some, you know, standard military style boots like high-techs or something like that. You know, something a little bit fancier than just the standard. But my big gripe with him is his articulation is kind of bump. It's just bupkis, you know, like his head barely moves. That's about as much as you get. Arms can move out this much, but they can only bend that much. So it's not even 90 degrees. So holding his rifle sucks. Also, the vest. The way that the vest, you see how it's kicking out at the side right there? That's as good as it's gonna get, you know? So it sticks out so much that when you try to put his hand down, it's in the way. So his hand can't go down. So if you wanted him to be left-handed and you wanted him to hold, you know, his laser rifle in this hand and aim this way, not only do you have to fight with his weird forearm guards, I mean, they're cool, but the positioning of them is pretty weird. But his arm can't go down enough to allow for him to hold it in this hand. And then say you want to switch it around and you want to have this hand cradle the gun, it's really hard to do. So I figured this will be one of those things I'll do on camera so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So I've twisted this hand so you can see that instead of putting the swivel further down on his wrist, like somewhere, move that out the way, somewhere down here, wow, they put the swivel right there so it's at the wrist. But this thing doesn't move. Instead of gluing this to the back of his hand and then having it, you know, swivel freely on his forearm, it just sits there. So like, you can't put something in his hand because it's gonna bump up against that. So you have the exact same problem on the other side. So like, trying to turn this gun up, you know what I'm saying? So that he can actually face it properly and then cup it with this hand, you just can't. So I was like, this is garbage. Pure garbage. What I'm gonna do, and you know, I was thinking about this for a while, and finally I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it, is I'm going to take the Slaughter's Marauders 7-pack low light and try to switch the web gear. But I've tried this a couple times and I was actually impressed with it. I have some extra hands from Marauders, and voila, there you have a much better Pursuit of Cobra style, you know, Alpine. And I dig that. I dig it much more. Even if they had his camo and nothing else other than his pants, you know what I mean? Like, it's a different kind of camo. It's still green. I don't need to repaint shit. All I have to do is add the extra pair of hands, you know what I mean? I think I have some green and black hands, and I'm gonna look in my case and see what I have, and if I don't, I'm gonna order them. But this figure blows. I mean, I love seeing the design from, you know, the classic design from the original series, but this figure fucking blows. I mean, it's so nostalgic to see him come with the classic laser rifle, you know? But then when you put it in his hands, he can't fucking do the basic things he's supposed to do with it. It's like, guys, you left something out. You forgot something, you know? At least test the figure, make sure he can actually use the damn gun so that I can recreate, you know, the shit that I did when I was a kid and what I saw as a kid in action figure form. But it's like they don't care about that, and too many of the fucking fanboys are too quick to say it's an awesome figure without actually trying to play with the damn thing. Meanwhile, a simple head swap cures it. You know what I mean? It cures it completely. Here's my soldier doing what he's supposed to do, you know? Looking thorough, aiming that gun the way you should aim a laser rifle, the way they aimed laser rifles in the fucking show, you know? I mean, look at that. Proper. That's what I want to see. None of this 25th anniversary bullshit right here. So that's my Alpine rant, my Alpine review, quick review, because, you know, like I said, I had been waiting to get him, and I got him, and I was so pissed that I just didn't look at him for a while. I just had him sitting on my shelf, and I didn't think about him. I was like, you know what, fuck this toy. I'm not happy with it. Matter of fact, let me switch this around. I wasn't happy with the lack of, you know, of ability and the lack of engineering. I'm like, you seriously screwed the pooch with this one, you know? You shit the bed wholly with this, you know? But I can actually find a way to, you know, redeem the figure by doing what I just showed you. And if you guys have that, and you have the 50th version of you know, Lowlight, then you're not going to be missing out. It's not like, you know, you can't afford to use this body for something else. You know what I'm saying? The backpack fits perfectly. He still looks tactical. I just have to find a knife to put in his sheath right there, and then there's your my new Alpine, my Pursuit of Cobra Alpine. So yeah, that's that. So I did a couple things to him to make him look the part. I actually got the paint off of his neck so he doesn't have a Caucasian neck, you know, and a brown head. Getting that vest on him was a pain in the ass, but you can see it paid off because it helps seal the deal on the look. You know it's Alpine. He's got the rope and everything. And none of his articulation is really hindered. You still have to deal with that little piece on the bottom of the vest, but besides that, it's still great. So now I have a Pursuit of Cobra Alpine instead of a 25th Alpine. So, you know, here's, you know, something you guys could do. Another find I made was big fun when ODC was here. I found this 2-pack, Red Star and Duke. I switched out the helmet that Duke came with because it was just kind of, it was whack. You know, it's that standard Joe helmet that doesn't like to stay on, or it stays on in a kind of weird way and it falls off and blah blah blah. And I figured, you know what, I want him to look a little bit more, just slightly more modern. Red Star is kind of a shit figure when it comes to his hands. The hat is removable though. I was really impressed about that. Came with a lot of shit actually. That cool machine gun, cool backpack, his little knife, ammo pouch, nice web gear. Just a cool design. I mean, very very Russian, almost very German, but I mean it's fairly accurate for, you know, 1980s, you know, Russian higher commanding officer type you know, gear, and I don't mind it. Whereas Duke, it's like the green shirts, it's green shirt Duke, you know, and I don't mind that either. You know, it doesn't look bad. It's not the best figure. I'm gonna just turn him into a green shirt, or, you know, maybe just use him as a incentive for my son, since he's, you know, the older son is all into 25th anniversary stuff. But yeah, it came with the comic. It's a comic 2-pack, and the two of them were kind of going to blows over trying to complete a mission. They had different points of view of how the mission was to be carried out. One thought the other was trying to double cross the other, and then you find out they're working towards the same goal, as usual with the October Guard and G.I. Joe, and then they team up and then they save the day. So, but yeah, I like the designs. I like the designs. This helmet really sets this off. I'm surprised at how close these two, the helmet matches the design. Very simple. And I've seen this go for some crazy prices, and I got this thing for like 15, maybe even lower than that, maybe 12, something like that. But anyway, I thought it was cool. It was one of those impulse buys because of this guy. I actually had in mind to use him as a different character, you know, use him as a villain, because he looks like, you know, typical villains that you see in a lot of things that we watch, you know, especially military style stuff. But yeah, so there's that. Moving on, I just got a find that, well, actually I'll go to another find. I didn't know much about these guys. I was trying to think of like Cobras that could face some of the Fenris Company guys. And then I came across this guy, Guillotine. It's a crazy looking motherfucker, man. Crazy looking motherfucker. I love the look of this guy. And but the figure is not that great. So I'm working on finding a way to utilize all his stuff. I might have to do some serious surgery and use this on a Pursuit of Cobra figure. Maybe I'll use it with the Ultimate Roadblock or something. But the things that I like about him, he's the leader of the Plague. I love this gun. He doesn't hold it very well, but I love this gun. This shit looks terrible, terrifying. Like it's gonna just blow off whatever limb it hits. And this sword with the freaking spinal column and a skull as the handle. Like, what the fuck? You know, and this is coming from that new sculpt era when people that a lot of Joe fans and collectors don't talk about. But this is a great figure. I mean, look at that predator-ish mask. You know what I mean? That's pretty badass. You really can't complain. You can't say that that's not a badass looking character. I was impressed with him. Very impressed. At least with the look and the design. And then he looks like gung-ho when you take the helmet off. Or Dr. Mindbender. It's actually a better face than the Dr. Mindbender that they had at the time. You can house the sword on the backpack. There's a little sheath type deal on the back. That looks cool. And then you just have him hold his gun. Which this figure one-hands it because he can't cradle the gun. But he looks pretty badass. I was actually pretty damn surprised that, you know, this was the design. One thing I hate, though, is that he can swivel at the bicep, but he can't swivel at the wrist. So if you want to like swivel at the bicep and then put the gun in his hand, he can't hold it. It's like, what the fuck? Why didn't you? This is what I'm talking about with Hasbro's kind of like every plus has a minus right behind it, you know, in most cases, with the exception of Pursuit of Cobra. It's like every time they do something right, they turn around and then they do something equally wrong, you know? But overall, I think he's a cool design. I have enough parts here to make him even better, so that's what I'm going to work towards with him. So yeah, that was pretty awesome. So as mentioned earlier, I ended up using the Retaliation Roadblock. Ultimate Roadblock as my base for my Rise of Cobra, Pursuit of Cobra Guillotine, and I'm loving it. It looks thorough as all hell. That's how I like it. If you smell what I'm cooking, that's what I'm going to do with this. This is the Ultimate Roadblock. I'm probably going to give him similar gear. Maybe I'll switch around the vests with, you know, my new Roadblock here. And make this the default Plague, you know, guillotine look. That would actually be really dope, you know, if somebody making these films was actually trying there's a character for you right there. Terry Crews versus Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. This would be dope, you know? Anyway, that's just one idea. Alright, next up on the docket are these two. These are two Rise of Cobra figures that I had been actually dying to review. Both of them are recent finds from Big Boy Collectibles. That's our sponsor, actually, so thank you, Big Boy Collectibles. It is Wallace Weems, aka Ripcord, and Conrad Duke Hauser. It's another, you know, version of him again. What I actually, I've wanted both of them to make other characters, but I think after seeing, you know, Ripcord in person, this one might end up being a, I might just leave that so that I have a version of Ripcord, you know, outside of his, this particular armor, you know. And then this I got to be Breaker in his reactive impact armor. But the problem I have with this is that, sorry about that. The problem I have with this is that when I switch the head, this neck is longer. So he looks like he has this super long neck. I'll show you. But I was really impressed with, you know, I'm always impressed with the Rise of Cobra figures because they, for some reason, they stand up really well, like to the test of time. You know, a lot of times you get into a line, you go back to it years later, and it's just not as good as it was when you first, you know, went into it. But Rise of Cobra just seems to continually, you know, impress me. But let's see if you guys feel the same way I feel when it comes to this, because I just don't like how long his neck looks, and I might have to shave it down, cut it off, and then put it back on. See that? It's like the neckline on this one, his shoulders are higher and the neckline is lower. This one, the neck is so high up and the shoulders are so much lower, so you end up with this weird, you know, you see the difference, you know what I mean? So I don't know. For now I might use it, but I'm just kind of like, maybe I'll find like a scarf or something to put around here, or a shema if I could find one, and put that here and then have it, you know, cover up his neck. I've got to find goggles and such for him because, you know, he had like a monocle and shit, you know. I don't think I have that specific gear, but I'm pretty sure I have some goggles he can wear. Maybe he can wear these goggles, or maybe I have, yeah, that doesn't look right. Looks like some of the customs that I see online sometimes. Looks pretty bad. Yeah, we won't do that to you. No way, homie. No way. But you get the drift, though. That's the point with them. Ripcord, though, I have some words about Ripcord. This Ripcord figure is very overrated. I don't like the fact that the price on this guy has been, I mean, I got him for $10, so I'm not even complaining. But the price that you see him going for on the secondary market everywhere else is absurd. This guy goes for $50 sometimes, goes for $70 sometimes, goes for, you know, $30 in some places. It's like, why? You know what I mean? Why? Just because it was like the only other version of a character that everybody said they hated. And I noticed that a lot with Rise of Cobra. People say they hate a character, it's a terrible figure, it sucks, blah blah blah, yakety schmackety, and then they make that figure either super rare, or they you know, everybody's trying to charge an arm and a leg for him, and I don't get that. I think it's pretty stupid when they do that stuff. So me, I didn't have a problem with Ripcord. I always thought they took a very bland character and gave him some personality, and with that, I applaud them, you know. That's why I dig the character. Plus, he challenged Snake Eyes for the undiscovered country of Scarlet. And, you know, I always hated that. Like, nobody else is going to look at Scarlet because she went out with Snake Eyes. Like, come on, guys. So, I'm happy that they did that finally, even though the movie kind of, you know, sucked. But, I'm happy that they did that, you know. That makes me happy. I know a lot of other people, it doesn't make them happy because they're like Snake Eyes groupies or something. But I actually feel like it's better that way, you know. So yeah, I don't know how else to put it. I'm really happy that, you know, this guy came out the way he came out. And when you take off this gear, he's got the same reactive impact armor upper body as my custom what's his name, you know, Alpine that I just showed you. So that's kind of cool. But once again though, notice how well he holds his guns. You know, I didn't do anything. I literally just opened the package and posed him. And look at that. Very professional. Something that so many of the freaking, you know, retaliation figures can't do. Something that so many of the I mean, look. It's so easy, you know. They both look very official. And then when you want them to just, you know, rest, you know, your passive stance, there you go. It's not very hard. That's the way it should always be, you know. But, you know, I try telling people this, and people want to argue with me about it so much. And I'm like, guys, there's just no arguing. There's some certain things that, you know, a figure should always do depending on the role that the figure plays, you know, that the character plays. And if they can't do it, then they failed. You know, you may like the way it looks, but you wasted your money. You know, a Spider-Man figure that can't be posed in Spider-Man poses, that's not a good Spider-Man figure. Yet, you hear it all the time. You know, a G.I. Joe or a soldier who can't hold an assault rifle with two hands. How many Marvel Legends, excuse me, have that issue? A whole bunch of them. They can't hold the gun right. They can't chamber a pistol. Nothing. Shoulder your rifle, chamber your pistol, or shoulder your pistol, whatever. Aim down the sights of your pistol is what I meant to say. How many of them have that issue? And then you always hear, oh, it's a great figure. You know how many 25th anniversary figures can't do this? You know, let alone aim that thing the right way, let alone, you know, aim a pistol the right way. So, you know, it's one of those things. So I do like this figure though. He's got some cool detailing on him. I mean, it's nothing we haven't seen before, but if you notice, everything is more properly positioned. You know, like the Joe symbol right here, the eagle, the little bits of paint on the straps and the buckles on his vest. I love it. It looks good. The fact that they didn't skimp on the chocolate chip pattern, I like that. Same thing goes for this. You know, this is the lower half of one of the Rise of Cobra Snake Eyes figures, but it looks good. Mixing it with the upper body of the version 1 Duke, that's perfect. I don't have any issues with that. I think it helps make him stand out a little bit. But I'm going to have to whittle down his neck, glue it back on, and then, you know, hopefully it will, you know, he'll look cool, and I won't be annoyed with it, and I'll find some cooler goggles or maybe a helmet, and we'll see what we can do about that. But yeah, that really just about does it for me in this video. I just wanted to show you guys some, you know, pickups and some customs, let you know what I was doing with some of this stuff, you know. There's not that much going on with the Joes these days, you know. You don't really have very much to talk about, despite what some people are trying to do. There's a lot of people trying to make it look like, you know, G.I. Joe is flourishing right now, when in reality it is not. I don't care what anybody says. Right now, G.I. Joe is a fucking hot mess, and you all know it. Whether or not you want to admit it, that's a different story, but it is the truth. And there are some gems out there. You really have to look. But there are some gems. You just got to be willing to do the searching. And, you know, hopefully when you do your searching, you come across some quality shit and you know the difference between the quality and the wax stuff. So anyway, that is essentially it for me. You guys have been great. I know there's some weapons that I didn't really go over, but some of these are old figures. You can always check yojo.com and you will see the parts and pieces and everything, and you'll know what goes to who. This was just me shooting the shit with you guys, giving you an example of, you know, quality, but, you know, overpriced quality versus, you know, this new stuff where you have to do so much to tweak this and that and the third to make it quality. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to play around with this right here. You know, that's what you get out of the box, and that's pretty sad. So as I said before, this is my story and I'm sticking to it. You know how I do. So that's it for me. You guys have been great, and I will catch you on the next video. Peace outside.